You're being let go, Nate. Effective immediately. Her voice was smooth, like she was reading a line she'd practiced in front of the mirror. We need a fresher, more forward-thinking approach for our next vehicle line. Someone who understands where the market is going. My name is Nate Collins. I was 41 when this happened. Lead design engineer at Iron Peak Mobility in Missoula, Montana. 7 years of my life poured into building rugged off-grid expedition vans, or, as the new regime liked to call them, lifestyle mobility units. That Thursday morning, I sat across from Alyssa Monroe, the company's freshly hired VP of Product Vision. Next to her was Janice from HR, legal pad ready. I saw it coming. Ever. Since Alyssa came in from a Silicon Valley scooter startup, she brought with her words like aesthetic alignment, brand-forward ergonomics, and user desirability optics. She also brought Travis, a 26-year-old industrial designer who had never spent a night outside of Wi-Fi range, but knew how to make a van look good in influencer reels. Your design language feels outdated, Alyssa continued, sliding a paper across the table. My termination letter. Not aligned with where Iron Peak wants to go. I didn't argue, just nodded. I had built the Atlas series from scratch, our flagship, expedition rig praised by survivalists, first responders, and backcountry guides. It had literally won a rugged terrain rescue award 2 years ago, but none of that mattered now. I stood up, packed my notebooks, my tablet, and the worn leather sketch folio I kept from my college days. On my way out, I passed Avery Chen, our materials specialist. We had worked side by side on dozens of builds. She looked up, met my eyes, then looked away. That hit harder than Alyssa's corporate script. She didn't need to say anything. That one glance said it all. I don't know what to believe anymore. What Alyssa didn't know? I'd been quietly building my own prototype portfolio for over a year. Concepts they called off-brand, or too technical for lifestyle buyers. Designs that didn't fit in polished pitch decks, but would survive a week in the Utah desert without killing your battery or back. As I drove home, my phone buzzed, a text from Brian, one of the electrical engineers. They just made the dumbest move in Iron Peak's history. Maybe. Or maybe it was the best move for me, because what they thought was a dead-end design file folder on my home computer, was a full product roadmap. Codename: North Trail. How's your contract looking these days? Thomas asked over the phone after I filled him in on everything. No non-compete, I said. James always thought they were unethical. Thomas went quiet for a second. Interesting, he said. Very interesting. The severance package had been polite. 3 months' pay and extended health benefits. Corporate manners for 7 years of grinding. I signed the paperwork without a word. Drove home in silence. My apartment felt colder than usual. Not just physically. I stared at my old drafting table in the corner, the one I hadn't touched in months. Then I unrolled the folio. Inside were my rejected designs, 12 of them. Entire systems, off-grid energy optimization, modular storage solutions, thermal separation zones for cold desert nights. Each one designed not to impress on Instagram, but to work 200 miles from the nearest cell tower. I sat with them in silence. Then the rain started tapping the window. At 7:03 p.m., my phone rang. Nate Collins? A voice asked. Direct, no fluff. Yes. Melissa Hargrove, creative director at Summit North Mobility. Thomas said you might be available. I didn't say anything. He also said you were the real architect of Iron Peak's Atlas series. We're planning our fall collection. Got anything? That might surprise me. I looked down at the sketches. My heart finally beat faster. Yeah, I said. I might. Send them over tonight. If they're good, we talk tomorrow. I didn't waste time. 3 hours later, I had 6 of the most solid concepts formatted, polished, and annotated with specs, field logic, and manufacturing pathways. No fluff, just function. At midnight, I hit send. and for the first time in months, I slept like a human. The next morning, an email waited. Office, 10 a.m. Bring your terms. I didn't wear a blazer. I wore my field jacket, boots with desert mud still caked to the sole. Drove to Summit North's HQ just across the river. The receptionist didn't even ask my name, just waved me straight to the back. Melissa's office looked like a war zone. Swatches, toolkits, 3D prints, old gear torn apart on steel tables. My kind of place. She pointed to a corkboard behind her. 6-pinned printouts. My designs. We've been trying to solve 3 of these problems for 2 years, she said. You nailed all of them, especially this one. She tapped the printout of the North Trail chassis, a modular van base frame that could reconfigure itself depending on terrain load and storage mode. How soon can you start? I'm ready now. Good, because we move fast, very fast. And just like that, I was back in the game. 1 week into the job, I got a call. Nate, it's Peter. Off the record. Things at Iron Peak are unraveling. Travis's designs? Beautiful renders. Total chaos in production. Materials don't flex. Weight's off by 200 pounds. Our suppliers are fuming. Not my circus anymore, I said. But my stomach tightened anyway. Also, Alyssa told execs you didn't. Document your transition. Claimed you sabotaged the handoff. That stopped me cold. She what? Yeah. VPs are asking questions? She's persuasive, Nate. Real persuasive. My grip on the phone tightened. This wasn't just corporate politics anymore. It was personal. Van Design fired. This wasn't just about moving on. Alyssa was actively poisoning my name. Against my better judgment, I emailed Garrett Voss, Iron Peak's new CEO. I figured he deserved to hear it straight, not filtered through Alyssa's pitch deck. He agreed to coffee the next morning. Neutral ground, public. I picked a local cafe where I knew the tables were close enough that no one could shout. Garrett arrived 10 minutes late, already checking his watch. Let's be direct, I said. I've heard Alyssa's suggesting I left the team without proper documentation. That's a lie. Every build log, CAD schematic, and supply pathway is in the shared drive. I personally walked Travis through it before I left. He gave a small, non-committal nod. She said you might get defensive about this. That's when I saw it. The corporate trap. I was being painted as the unstable ex who just couldn't let go. Garrett, the van industry's small, but the roads we build on, even smaller. I'd hate for Iron Peak to burn resources on designs that can't even survive the assembly line. His expression twitched for half a second. We'll handle our internal challenges. I trust you'll be professional moving forward. Translation. Stay quiet or we'll escalate. As he stood to leave, my phone buzzed. A message from Melissa. Contracts ready. We're moving fast. I looked up at Garrett's retreating back. He had no idea what was coming. 3 days later, a certified letter arrived from Iron Peak's legal department. Carefully worded, but the intent was clear. They were reviewing my time at the company for possible confidentiality breaches. Melissa handed the letter to Summit North's legal team without a blink. Standard intimidation, their counsel said, reading the letter with a smirk. They're posturing. You had no non-compete. The designs you're building here are new. They're bluffing. Should I respond? I asked. No, he said. We will. That evening, he drafted a single cold-blooded response. We have detailed records of Mr. Collins' rejected proposals while at Iron Peak, time-stamped and digitally archived. We would welcome the opportunity to compare those with your current product roadmap in court. 2 days passed. Silence. Then Peter called. What the hell did you send them? He asked. Alyssa walked out of legal looking like someone punched her in the stomach. I didn't answer. Look, Nate, watch your back. She's not giving up. 2 days later, Thomas invited me to lunch at a quiet burger joint near the edge of town. You need to see this, he said, sliding over a tablet. I opened the file, an internal marketing brief from Iron Peak for their upcoming fall line. And there it was, my design, my North Trail variant, same modular undercarriage, same adaptive shell. Structure, rebranded, renamed, credited to Travis Elena 2.0. I stared at the screen, rage simmering just beneath the surface. They're pushing this for September launch, Thomas said. Full rollout. Ads are in production. Materials ordered. They knew, I said. They always knew these were solid. They just didn't want my name on them. Thomas nodded. That's not even the worst part. Look at the footer. I scrolled down. The legal disclaimer read, all designs are proprietary to Iron Peak Mobility. Unauthorized duplication will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. My jaw tightened. So they weren't just using my work, they were preparing to come after me for it. I didn't sleep that night. I just stared at the ceiling. The glow from Thomas's tablet still burned into my eyes. They'd taken my work, my name, and now they were threatening to take my future. The next morning, I called Melissa. We fast-track everything, I told her. All 5 units. We beat them to market or we let them own the story. She didn't hesitate. Already briefing. The team. Prototypes are on schedule. Marketing goes live next week. By noon, I was back in the shop with Diane, our lead engineer. We're ahead on the modular frame, she said, handing me a revised blueprint. But if we want to ship in August, we need your full-time brain on this. You've got it. The next 3 weeks were a blur of steel, sweat, and stubborn bolts. I worked 16-hour days, crashed on the office couch, woke up in my clothes, kept going. At night, I'd tweak interface systems. During the day, I was elbow-deep in insulation foam or arguing with suppliers about thermal ratings. Melissa brought me into every meeting, design, production, marketing. Unlike Iron Peak, Summit North didn't want to control me. They wanted to amplify me. She even looped me into branding. We're calling it the Summit Series, she said, and your name will be on every brochure. People need to know who really built this. My throat tightened. I just nodded. 2 days later, I signed the contract. Full royalties on every unit sold, creative control over production specs, and a clause that ensured my name stayed attached. When I got home that night, there was an email waiting from Melissa. Subject. Line, consulting opportunity. I didn't even open it, just hovered for a second, then hit delete. The following Monday, we began final testing. 3 of the 5 units were ready. The weatherproof shell passed water submersion at 2x standard. The chassis reconfigured itself from terrain to transport mode in under 3 minutes. Diane stood beside me, grinning. You really built something, Nate. Not pretty, but genius. Pretty's never been my style. By the end of that week, the prototypes were on their way to select distributors. We didn't do a press release. Just let the product speak. 3 days. Later, rumors exploded across industry forums, whispers of a modular system with real adaptability. Spec sheets leaked, photos surfaced. Someone posted a time-lapse of the interior reconfiguring in under 5 minutes. That's when my phone rang. Peter, did you? Did I what? He exhaled. Vivian saw the leaked catalog. Your name's on it. Alyssa's in meltdown mode. She's claiming you stole company IP. I didn't say a word. Thing is, Nate, we both know the truth. Those designs, they were yours before they were anyone's. There was a pause. Just be careful. I hung up but didn't move. My inbox lit up again. This time, it wasn't Alyssa. It was a National Gear Review blog. Subject line, we want to feature the man behind the Summit Series. It was happening. They tried to erase me, but I was about to become the headline. The next morning, I ignored Vivian's call. Her voicemail was clipped. Corporate. Nate, this is unprofessional. We need to discuss the current situation immediately. I didn't respond. Instead, I drove to Summit North HQ for the final product. Launch meeting. The campaign was locked, prototypes approved, manufacturing humming. In 2 weeks, the Summit series would hit retailers nationwide, 4 full weeks ahead of Iron Peak's Elevation line. That night, I couldn't sleep. 7 years of blueprints, countless all-nighters. My fingerprint on every square inch of the van industry. And now it came down to this. At 5 a.m., I drove to the overlook outside Missoula, the same trail I'd tested the original Atlas rig on, back when Iron Peak was still a garage dream. The ridge was cold, quiet. The air bit through my jacket just enough to remind me why this gear mattered. My phone buzzed. Melissa. It's live. Sights up. Orders already rolling in. I stared out at the horizon as the sun broke. It wasn't how I pictured this moment. No champagne, no launch party. Just breath and fog and steel. But maybe that's exactly how it should be. By the time I hiked back to my truck, I had 17 missed calls, unknown numbers, outdoor bloggers, trade journalists, and one message from Melissa. You've made a serious mistake. I waited until I was parked, then called her back. No, I said when she picked up. You did. On August 12th, the Summit series officially launched. By noon, the site had crashed twice under traffic. Retailers were calling Melissa non-stop, begging for inventory. I sat in her office as article after article rolled in, game changer for off-grid mobility. Finally, function first. The modular system that's actually modular. My name appeared in every headline. 3 days later, Outside Weekly published a feature that changed everything. Separated at launch, Summit versus Elevation, a curious case of similarity. They didn't outright accuse Iron Peak of theft, but the side-by-side comparisons, the timeline breakdown, the quiet nod to my history there, it said enough. Outdoor forums erupted. Influencers who'd reviewed both product lines called out the overlap. Industry veterans posted, I saw those sketches in Nate's notebook 3 years ago. Iron Peak's silence only made it louder. Then Vivian called again. This time, I answered. You've deliberately undermined our company, she snapped. No greeting. I designed products, I replied, for a company that hired me to do exactly that. You leaked confidential material? I leaked nothing. I published original work. Work your team rejected, stripped, and then tried to repackage with someone else's name on it. Silence. Then quieter. You'll regret this. I didn't answer. Just ended the call. Later that night, Melissa texted me a photo. A printed Summit Series display in REI's flagship store, beneath the showcase van, designed by Nate Collins, Director of Expedition Design. I stared at it until the screen dimmed. Tomorrow there'd be more noise, more fallout. But tonight? Tonight? I let myself feel it. Not revenge, just rightness. Because when people finally saw the truth, they didn't whisper. They cheered. You're selling our designs under someone else's name, Vivian said, cold and clipped. We'll need to discuss legal options. That would be interesting, I said. I still have the emails from Melissa rejecting these exact sketches 6 months ago. What would a court make of that, especially now that you're selling them under someone else's name? Silence stretched on the other end of the call. You should have valued what you had, I added quietly. Good luck with your launch. Week later, Iron Peak announced that the Elevation series had been postponed for refinement. Industry analysts saw it for what it was, a retreat. By October, the Summit series had shattered Ridgeline's Q1 sales records. My first royalty check alone eclipsed an entire year's salary at Iron Peak. Melissa called me into her office with a grin. We're expanding your team, she said. 6 full-time designers. Total control over our next 3 seasonal releases. Thomas transferred from materials to become my lead technical advisor. We got to build it our way, finally. Iron Peak. Scrambled. They rushed out a poorly redesigned product line 3 months later, stripped of everything modular. The reviews were lukewarm at best. Critics called it A missed opportunity dressed in borrowed ideas. Their stock dropped 8% the following quarter. That winter, I flew to Denver for the annual Outdoor Industry Conference. I didn't go to make a statement. I went to shake hands with dealers, meet fellow builders, and listen to users. But of course I saw her, Alyssa, alone at the bar, staring into a glass of something neat. She spotted me, paused, then raised her chin. "Congratulations on your success," she said. Her voice carried no warmth. I nodded, ready to walk away. "You could have stayed, fought for your ideas." I stopped. "Some places," I said, "don't deserve the fight." She flinched, just a little, then looked away. "Vivian's stepping down," she muttered. "The board's asked me to take over as interim." I almost felt sorry for her, almost. "Good luck," I said. "The industry needs strong companies." 6 months later, I received a package. No return address, but I knew the handwriting. It was from Peter. Inside, every sketchbook I'd ever left behind at Iron Peak. And a note. "These belong to you. Alyssa's gone. Just thought you should know." I flipped through the old pages, then paused. One concept caught my eye. Something I'd drawn during a brutal winter storm in Idaho. A modular tent system, designed for shifting conditions and high winds. I'd never shown it to Alyssa. Never submitted it to Iron Peak. But it was there, waiting. That evening, I called Melissa. "I've got something for our winter line." The following spring, Ridgeline's stock doubled. Iron Peak announced a restructuring under new leadership. I barely noticed. I was already deep in the next build. Sometimes at night I think about those 7 years at Iron Peak, not with bitterness, not anymore, with clarity. They taught me something they never meant to. Your work speaks for itself if you let it, if you protect it, if you fight for it in the right places. Alyssa tried to silence that work, tried to erase me, but in doing so, she only amplified the one thing she couldn't control: the work, the purpose, the voice. And the truth is, good design doesn't just survive trends, it outlasts them, because it solves something real, and that is what endures. Thanks for sticking around, legends. If this story hit something real for you, if you've ever been underestimated, overlooked, or just plain replaced, do me a favor, smash that like so the algorithm knows good stories still matter. Subscribe if you want more tales where the underdog doesn't just bite back, he builds better. This is Alpha Revenge. Build sharp, think louder.